What's going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today I'm going to talk to you about Hologram. I've received a lot of comments on how Hologram cannot do a reverse stock split until February 2026. So I wanted to talk on all of that, where that misinformation is coming from and why most likely people are saying that. Before we get into any of that though, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So starting off, when it comes down to NASDAQ rulings, there is a ton of them, and there's a lot of proposals that's kind of stuck in limbo that have not been fully rubber stamped. There has been some amendments that have been recently made as early as, I believe, second week of October, and so a lot of that, I think, just people don't understand what it truly does mean. And regrettably, a lot of this is coming from Reddit. So starting off, just to address the whole February 2026, supposedly that is Hologram. They stated that themselves in their own SEC documents. I have looked through absolutely everything, and there has been no indication that they are kind of excluding themselves from doing a reverse stock split. And so again, there's that basis. So they did not state this in any of the SEC documents. Most likely this was just a one-off article that was trying to interpret maybe a new proposal and everything like that. So just kind of be aware of that. So that is misinformation number one. But let's pop over to Reddit, where regrettably a lot of this misinformation is kind of stemming from. Even right here, negative practice 60. Can Hologram do another reverse stock split? The answer is no. So I do have quite a lot of experience covering stocks that is kind of in Hologram, exact same scenario that Hologram's in, if not sometimes a little bit worse. So what they are bringing up in these two screenshots is the excessive reverse stock split rule. So in theory, if a company does exceed a ratio of 1 to 250 within a 2-year time span, it doesn't mean they can't do a reverse stock split. It just means that they are not entitled to any of the NASDAQ benefits, and those benefits are extensions. So for instance, if a company is deficient with, let's say, a $1 bid price rule, so they're trading below $1 for 30 consecutive trading days, the NASDAQ gives them 180 days to rectify the deficiency. Obviously what has happened with Hologram in the past. But if a company is over that 1 to 250 ratio and then they become deficient, they don't get that grace period. They get delisted. Of course, the company could appeal it and stuff like that, but there is no grace period. That is what the whole reverse stocks, or the whole excessive reverse stock split rule, is all about. So this individual, clearly, that's the internet for you, just doesn't know how to interpret data. And there's a lot of changes that is kind of going. So these are some of the proposals. So some of the proposals are that if a company does a reverse stock split to rectify a deficiency, they can't do another reverse stock split for another year to kind of avoid any future deficiencies. I think this is where people might be getting essentially the ruling for, but this has not been rubber stamped yet. This is just still in proposal stage. So yes, this would essentially somewhat affect Hologram if they were to do a third reverse stock split. And then there's also other ones right here that has been incorporated as of October the 7th. So this one right here states that if they do a reverse stock split to rectify a deficiency, and then during that time period, they also become deficient with some other rule, they can't do a second reverse stock split to rectify this. So I don't think that would really qualify to that many companies. Probably just occurred one time with one company and they had to kind of amend it just to avoid any abuse, right? And so going back over here, this whole reverse stock split, excessive reverse stock split rule, so again that 1 to 250, this is exactly why I've stated Hologram did this right here. So for splits, they did a 1 for 20 on October 9th, 2024, and then a 1 for 10 on February 2nd, 2024. Of course, for those of you that have been following my channel and kind of pay attention to what I'm saying, this is why the company only did a 1 for 20, because they wanted to stay below that ratio, because if you do the basic math, it's slightly below that 1 to 250. So if Hologram in the future becomes deficient with something else, let's say again that $1 bid price rule, then they can do a they'll get a grace period of 180 days. So it is very, very backwards, but very strategic coming from the company's standpoint. And as far as them not being able to do a reverse stock split, as what this individual is saying, or just vaguely about February 2026, that is wrong. 1000% wrong. And so essentially, as long as a company does a shareholder meeting, gets the actual rubber stamp and approvals, which given the nature of Hologram right now and how they're diluting quite a lot, especially to essentially those insiders or the kind of note holders, they are going to get the actual votes that they want. So they are going to be able to get future reverse stock splits passed through shareholder meetings, as well as, even if necessary, raise the authorized share count. So individuals such as this right here, 1000% wrong. Yes, they can do a reverse stock split as long as they go through the appropriate channels. And as of right now, this one right here, which could potentially affect Hologram, has not been approved for NASDAQ ruling or changes or anything like that. And as I stated, when this did occur, this 1 for 20, even when it was being proposed, I even said immediately they are doing this strategically to allow themselves another grace period. So essentially things might change, and hopefully NASDAQ does get a little bit more strict on companies such as Hologram that just relies on reverse stock splits to stay on the NASDAQ, so then that way they can milk more and more liquidity. Because I think these types of companies such as Hologram, as I've stated, they are absolutely destroying retail, because there's a lot of retail, clearly, not to use this person as an example, but there's just a lot of just individuals, same mentality. They just don't know how things are truly ran. So I think they invest in Hologram thinking it's going to be the next big thing, bigger and better, but little do they know the company behind the scenes is just going to milk them. And then eventually, once they become deficient again, then that means they'll just do a reverse stock split. So going forward, can a company do a 4th reverse stock split? Most definitely. Can they do a 5th reverse stock split? Most definitely. As long as they get the proper channels, get rubber stamp from shareholders, majority, they can do reverse stock splits. So yeah, it's a kind of an interesting scenario how Hologram is. And like I said, I have dealt with a lot of companies, similar type of scenario, that have done, I think they're going on to most likely their 5th reverse stock split right now. So yeah, it's a very bad scenario. But again, just to clarify, yes, they can do a reverse stock split, but do your own due diligence. You do whatever floats your boat. Buy, sell, do whatever you want. I'm not here to change that. One final thing I do want to share with you though, I have been giving some pretty kick-ass buy signals on my Patreon. So I'm giving buy signals on stocks, crypto, and options, all of which complete bangers. So pop over there to take a look. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.